Religion. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but it's this sort of trend that started around 60,000 years ago when one of our Homo sapien ancestors looked at a dead body and thought to himself, you think anything comes after that? The answer could be nothing or everything. No one gets to know, leaving generations of humans to speculate and form their own sacred texts, traditions, and celebrations of life. Religions are ever-changing pillars of society, and in my opinion, is our species' way of honoring the impossible miracle that is existence. And here I am, making a YouTube video, rating them based on vibes. Clearly God, whoever they are, is dead. Hello everyone, I'm wannabe influencer number 4004, and in all seriousness, I'm not making this to bash anyone's faith. I think religion is really cool, I know a lot about it, and I want to take this opportunity to share some facts and bring a general idea of what vibes each religion brings to the table. That being said, I might poke fun at some things. Let's be honest, religion can be a little bit strange, but you'll just have to take my word for it that I joke out of love. And if I do say something false or arrogant or really offensive, please correct me. I like to learn, even if it's about what a massive dipshit I am. But hopefully we can all just come together and not take any of this too seriously. Okay. That being said, the religions will be rated based on 3 categories: their morals, founders, and holidays. Each of these categories will receive a grade of 1 out of 10, and at the very end I'll add all of the grades up, and the closer the score is to 30, the better the vibes. Make sense? No? Okay, sorry. Over 4,000 religions exist in the world today. Obviously, I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm only covering 4, and if you're having trouble following along, don't worry, I made this handy-dandy little slideshow. You're welcome. With that, let's get into it. First on the list, everyone say shalom to Judaism. Founded sometime around 1800 BCE, Judaism is the oldest of the monotheistic faiths in the Abrahamic tradition, which also includes Christianity and Islam. Monotheistic means they believe in only one God, an all-powerful and ever-present creator of the universe. Their sacred text is the Torah, this big scroll-looking thing which holds the 10 Commandments given by God through Moses to the Jewish people approximately 3,320 years ago. Hey. Sorry, saw my friend of mine. And the Jewish people have been thriving ever since, and as far as I know, no one has had any major problems with them. On to the rankings. Abraham, born sometime around 2166 BCE, was the founder of Judaism. And Abraham, I would really like to say that you're a stand-up guy, but your son Isaac might disagree with me. If you don't know the story, basically God tells Abraham to kill Isaac to prove his faith or something. But then at the very last second, like right before he stabs his kid in the chest, God's all like, I was joking, dude. What is wrong with you? Don't stab your kid. Stab this goat instead. But you still need to stab something for me because, well, I want to feel special. I'm God. Although, I guess if Abraham had killed his kid, it wouldn't have been too bad. I mean, he had another, Ishmael, who was born because Abraham, at the age of 75, slept with his wife's teenage servant girl. And by servant girl, I mean slave. Yeah, sorry, Hambone. I'm gonna have to take a few points off for that. Apparently his wife Sarah was like totally on board with the impregnation, but that doesn't make it less gross. Also, Sarah was his half-sister, but I'm not going to take points off of that because, well, a lot of people back then were getting physical at the family barbecue. Let's be clear, that's not Judaism's fault. Lots of religions were founded by kind of creepy old men. That doesn't inherently make the religion itself creepy or harmful. No, that would be the morals it teaches. So what are the moral values of Judaism? Well, aside from the 10 Commandments, there seem to be 3 common ones in modern Judaism: Zedek, Tikkun Olam, and Derek Eretz. Sorry in advance if I butchered those. Derek Eretz means to treat people with dignity and respect. In the Jewish faith, it is believed that all humans are made in the image of God, and therefore every human life is sacred and holy and should be treated as such. Well, that's nice. Tikkun Olam means world repair. It's the idea that humans have a responsibility to make the world a better place, and we should all strive to do our part to fix its problems. That's also nice. Zedek means justice, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Anyways, peace, justice, inclusivity, and earth preservation are all the fundamentals of modern Judaism, so I'll give the morals a solid 8 out of 10. Not a perfect score, I've got to keep you guys humble, but still pretty good. And I know I'm massively oversimplifying this ancient and complex religion, but in my defense, I don't want to make a 3-hour-long video, and if I want to appeal to my generation's attention span, I gotta get to the point, so moving on. Now I know that there's a stereotype that Jewish people have too many hobbies holidays, and, well, it's true. There are about 16 holidays in the average year for a Jewish person. I'm just going to focus on a few of the important ones, and by the way, they change the dates. Not only are there a ton of holidays, but they change based on the Hebrew calendar, but whatever. Passover. Passover is generally in April and celebrates the Israelites' escape from Egypt and lasts for 7 to 8 days. The name refers to the last of the 10 plagues that God inflicted on Egypt, in which God killed the firstborn of every Egyptian household, but passed over the Israelites' household. So, congrats on your firstborns not dying. That's always fun. Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. It is the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, marking the end of the 10 days of repentance. It's spent in fasting and fervent prayer. They also do this thing called sounding the shofar, where they get to blow this giant horn, which signals the holiday's end. Then there's Sukkot, which is 5 days after Yom Kippur and is basically just a festival. There's Hanukkah, which you've probably heard of, the 8-day festival of lights. There's Bat and Bar mitzvahs, which are coming of age celebrations for young Jewish people. That's where they do that thing where they lift you up in the chair. Then there's Tu B'Shavat, which is an environmentalist holiday. Jewish people use this day as a reminder to themselves to take care of the natural world. Many take part of this in a tree planting ceremony or by eating a lot of fruit to celebrate. Well, I want a holiday that's all about planting trees and eating fruit. That sounds dope. And there are more, but overall, these holidays are perfectly pleasant and usually include a lot of family, prayer, singing, and fasting, followed by good food, which, by the way, I'm adding a whole point just for food. I don't know how many of y'all have had Jewish cuisine before, but it is delicious. 10 out of 10, love the vibes. Overall, I give Judaism a score of 23 out of 30. Good vibes all around. The founder was a bit of a weirdo, but hey, he founded a religion and I haven't, so what do I know? Well, Judaism, I'd say things are pretty kosher between us. Kosher? I barely know her. Moving on. Okay. Satanism. Yeah, there was never going to be an easy way to transition into that, and also it is the next day. Satanism was thought to have begun with the Church of Satan, founded in San Francisco, California, but turns out that church was just a bunch of rebellious goth kids hanging out in a room full of candles. With the title being more of an aesthetic, most Satanists don't actually worship Satan himself. The religion was more of an act of defiance against the Christian agenda, with its beliefs centering around freedom of expression, identity, and disrupting the status quo. So, do we vibe with the Satanists? Well, let's take a look at the founder. Anton LaVey is known as the founder of modern Satanism, as he founded its church and is the author of the Satanic Bible, and he is, without a doubt, one of the coolest people I have ever read about. This guy worked as an organist for a circus, a bartender, a crime scene photographer, an alleged off-the-books psychic investigator for the police department. He threw these satanic-themed parties at his all-black house in San Francisco, where he would host these massive orgies and supposedly perform rituals for his guests. These after-hours events slowly began to become his first sermons, and he would preach about chaos magic and how human willpower is the driving force of the universe. Eventually, one of his followers suggested he start a religion, and he waited until 1966 to declare the Church of Satan, because, as we all know, the devil is in the details. However, his rise to popularity coincided with the satanic panic echoing through the suburban households of America at the time, so the public nicknamed him the Black Pope, a title which he completely leaned into. He wrote a few more books, made some music, and ultimately died of heart ailments in 1997. And while the details of his death are a little bit vague, it says on his death certificate that he died on October 31st, Halloween. The man was loyal to his aesthetic right up until the end. I'll give his vibe a 7 out of 10. Despite his huge eyebrows and slightly off-putting personality, he seems like a fun hang. Thanks, Anton. Now, some of you might be thinking I'm being a little too polite to a depraved Satanist, but honestly, I think it is a way over-stigmatized religion. From the Satanists I've talked to and from what I've read about them, they are a perfectly valid and non-harmful group. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the morals. Like Judaism and Christianity have the 10 Commandments, Satanism has its 7 tenets. I'm going to summarize them real quick for you. 1. Strive to be empathetic to all life on earth. 2. Fight for justice. 3. You're the only one who gets a say in what happens to your body. 4. You don't have to like everyone, but you do have to respect everyone within reason. 5. Listen to science. 6. Try to learn and better from your mistakes. And 7. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and in thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Yeah, not as many dead babies and black goats in there as you thought there was going to be, huh? Surprise, surprise, Satanists are actually just normal people that gravitated to a faith system that made them feel safe and supported, just like anyone else practicing any other religion. I give the morals of Satanism a 9 out of 10, 9 for each of these circles in hell. On to holidays. I didn't even know that Satanists had holidays, apart from Black Friday. Oh wait, that's not a holiday that's dedicated to devil worship, just capitalism. According to the Satanic Temple, there are 4 major holidays celebrated throughout the year minus Halloween. First one we're going to be talking about is Lupercalia. Fun fact about this holiday, historians believe that Valentine's Day was actually an offshoot of Lupercalia. But while Valentine's Day is more about the exchangement of gifts, nice dinners, and incompetent men, Lupercalia is a holiday solely focused on depravity. No one knows the exact origins of this festival, but it has been traced back as far as 6th century BC. This ancient Roman tradition usually includes a lot of violent and sexually charged celebration, complete with animal sacrifice, swapping partners, and random matchmaking, all in the hopes of warding off evil spirits and infertility. These days, it's more of a celebration of pleasure and primal instincts in the satanic community. And while this seems like a perfectly fine holiday for a group of consenting adults, this isn't, or I really hope it isn't, a holiday you could include your family in. There's Hex Chant, which is a way of honoring the many people who were executed for the practice or being accused of practicing witchcraft. There's Unveiling Day, a celebration of religious plurality and shedding archaic superstition. There's Sol Leviticus Day, which is the celebration of the sharing of knowledge. I mean, these are all perfectly fine holidays, but Satanists, would it kill you to be a little cozy for a change? Maybe just have a holiday where you eat a meal and buy each other dumb shit. I know you guys have an aesthetic to maintain, but I don't think the devil's gonna care too much if you wear a knitted sweater instead of a leather jacket. I'll give the holidays of the Satanic Temple a 6 out of 10. Nothing wrong with what they celebrate. I just like my holidays to be a bit on the sweeter side, as well as my coffee, but that doesn't mean I'm judging anybody that takes their coffee black. Overall, Satanism gets a score of 22 out of 30. A super interesting religion with good morals and a very complex and interesting history. Seriously, I haven't even touched on the subsets of Satanism yet, or the practicing of chaos magic and Wicca, but we have other religions to assess the vibes of.
Alright, yeah, clearly I filmed all of these cuts in different days. Cut me some slack, I'm a college student.
If all of the faiths were like a family of siblings, then Judaism would be the sensible older sister, Satanism would be the rebellious younger brother going through a goth phase, and Christianity would be the uptight middle child that did not get enough attention. Christianity is one of the most popular and widely known religions in the world, with over 2 billion people practicing it today. I probably don't need to tell you who the founder is, but in case you need a reminder, born sometime around 6 or 4 BCE, Jesus H. Christ in the Christian faith was believed to be the Son of God, put on earth to spread the word of the Lord. And while I like to make fun of Christianity because it was a religion I was once a part of, I don't actually have any problems with Jesus himself. He seems like a perfectly nice guy, never forcing his beliefs onto people, just preaching the philosophies that he believed God wanted us to live by. But he also understood that humans have flaws, and we should all try to show some mercy and forgiveness to ourselves and those around us. Jesus' words, and ultimately Christianity itself, have been unfortunately weaponized over the years as a means to outcast and harm people that didn't want to conform to whatever strict monarchy was in charge of them at the time. But I don't think that's what it was ever supposed to be. I've met a lot of wonderful and a lot of not so wonderful Christians over the years, but I'm going to try not to let a few bad apples ruin the vibes, because Christianity can be a very good vibe. I should know, I went to church camp. So in honor of Jesus, I'm going to be assessing the morals of Christianity based on how he presented them, and not how they were interpreted by others. So what are the moral values of Christianity? Oh, wait, sorry. 9 out of 10 for Jesus. I would definitely vibe with him, but no offense, Jesus, communion wafers are kind of nasty. Your flesh is a little bit stale. Back to Christian morals. The Bible, or the New Testament, is the Christian's holy text. The Torah, that we mentioned earlier, is part of the Old Testament. The Bible is a very long book, but the morals seem to boil down to generosity, courage, love, respect, and hope. But Jesus made it very clear above everything else that we should love God and love others. Wow, kind of crazy, but when you take away all the power-hungry maniacs, Christians are actually just good people, and you can probably find them hosting a 5K to raise money for cancer, or feeding the homeless, or eating a gross cracker and pretending it's a Jewish guy. I will be giving the morals of Christianity a 7 out of 10. On paper, the morals are good, but I did take points off because, well,
The Crusades were kind of a dick move. Sorry, Christians, I know it was a long time ago, but I still can't let you off the hook completely. And one more point for all that stuff you guys said about gay people. God doesn't hate gays. He hates pedophiles. Take notes, Abraham. Next up is holidays. I read recently that the average American spends a minimum of $1,000 extra every year during the month of December. Given that there are over 210 million Christians in America today, that's a shit ton of money. Most Christian holidays are popular because they borrowed traditions from pagan holidays such as Yule and the spring solstice. Over the years, they've morphed into more ceremonial activities, still practiced by Christians and non-Christians to this day. Easter eggs, Christmas trees, and even wedding rings were all originally pagan traditions. I just wanted to give credit where credit is due before we move on to one of my favorite holidays. Christmas celebrates the birth of Christ, the Immaculate Conception. Christians typically spend this holiday exchanging presents, listening to some absolutely stellar music, and spending time with loved ones, and just generally doing things to make you feel warm and cozy. And yeah, it's been commercialized to shit, but still, Christmas is everything you could want in a celebration. It's colorful, it's warm, it has a lot of really cool mythology behind the origins of Santa Claus, and it's done 1,000 different ways across 1,000 different families. See, Satanism, it's not that hard to be cozy. Even the Christians can do it. Then there's Easter, which celebrates the rebirth of Christ when he emerged from the grave after being crucified. Blessed be zombie Jesus. Christians usually celebrate this holiday by trying to get their toddler to quietly sit through an excruciatingly long church service before the egg hunt, which is the only thing the toddler cares about. Then there's things like Palm Sunday, Good Friday, Ash Wednesday, Taco Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding on that last one. They don't celebrate that. Most of the holidays just boil down to Jesus did something somewhere, so now we're going to celebrate it. Or there are the various holidays dedicated to saints, but you don't really do much for those besides lighting a candle. I'll give the vibes of Christian holidays another 7 out of 10. I probably don't need to tell you that Christmas is awesome, and while it's not my favorite holiday, I do have a lot of good memories associated with Easter and Palm Sunday. That being said, I took 3 points off because of this movie. Christmas with the Cranks would not exist if Christianity did not exist, and while I would hate to see that religion go, it might be a mercy. Overall, Christianity ties with Judaism for a score of 23 out of 30. I know that Christians can be great people, and when it's not being used to harm others, Christianity is a great religion. So I'd say good vibes. Peace be with you. Moving on to another much older sibling in the faith family tree, one of the most colorful religions, Hinduism. It's believed that Hinduism began somewhere between 23 BC and 1500 BC, but unlike every other religion so far, Hinduism doesn't really have a set founder. Instead, it's more of a fusion of various beliefs and practices. Hinduism is monotheistic as well as polytheistic, with Hindus all over the world worshipping a single deity known as Brahman, while also acknowledging the existence of other gods and goddesses. Their sacred text is a series of books known as the Vedas. A Veda is a collection of poems, hymns, and prayers originally written in archaic Sanskrit. According to what I could find, there are 4 main Vedas, but Hinduism is a massive religion, so some people might say it differently. Because Hinduism does not have a set founder, I'm going to bend the rules a little bit and combine the morals of Hinduism and the founders of Hinduism into a brand new category called the Vedas, and rank their vibe on a scale of 1 to 20. Sorry if that's throwing you off a little bit, but trust me, it's easier this way. But Vedas are super interesting, with each one providing various myths, legends, and comparisons of knowledge, and questions about life, love, and the nature of existence. The backbone of Hinduism comes from the idea that every person has an individual soul known as Atman and a supreme soul known as Parabrahman. While these states of being are different, they're not necessarily separate from one another, and most Hindus' religious journey usually has the end goal of reaching, or at least getting closer to their supreme soul. Hindus believe that all humans are born with maya, or ignorance, and the only way to rid yourself of it is through spiritual practice like meditation, as well as freeing yourself from internal desires or attachments. They believe the human soul is limitless with potential and invite anyone who wishes to embark on their own journey of self-discovery, ultimately joining the divine consciousness that flows through the universe. Now you're probably thinking, wow, that sounds awesome, and the vibes of Hinduism are totally on point. And you're right, it's super cool, it's a really cool religion. And I would love to give the Vedas a 20 out of 20, but I do have one small complaint, and that is the caste system. The caste system in Hinduism is a social hierarchy passed down through families and can dictate everything about a person's life, their profession, who they talk to, where they live, who they marry, you get it. And while these practices were banned by the Indian government in 2013, studies showed that at least 3 in every 10 Indians participate in the caste system. There are 5 layers to this bizarre hierarchy. At the top you have Brahmins, which are priests and teachers. Then you have rulers and warriors, landowners and merchants, servants, and at the very bottom you have a group known as the untouchables. They are the lowest of the low. Once you've received your arbitrary label that you were assigned at birth, it is very difficult to move up in this system. And while its rules may not be enforced today, I still find the idea of determining the worth of a human being based on factors outside of their control a bit of a bad vibe. And if I'm going to take points off from the Christians for the Crusades, then I gotta keep things fair and take a few points off Hinduism for that. I'll give the Vedas a final score of 15 out of 20. Overall, still a very good vibe. I am all for inner discovery and enlightening. And a special thanks to the Hindus over on Quora who put all this complex stuff into concise paragraphs. You guys made writing this script a lot easier. Moving on to holidays. If there's one thing that Hinduism does very well, it would be their holidays. Hinduism is another religion with a crap ton of holidays, so I'm just going to focus on a few of the important ones. There's Diwali. Diwali celebrates a year of good harvest and honors the goddess of wealth, Lakshmi. I think I'm pronouncing that right, sorry. The celebration lasts for 4 to 5 days and is marked by sweets, colorful fireworks, and lights, as well as by hanging oil lamps outside of their homes to guide the goddess to them in hopes of good fortune. Then there's Mahashivaratri, a holiday that honors Shiva, destroyer of the universe. This holiday is celebrated at night, one day before the new moon. One of the Hindu traditions during this holiday is to bathe a sculpture of Shiva with water and honey and milk before rubbing it with sandalwood paste and adorning it with flowers. Then there's Holi, which is the festival of colors. It marks the beginning of spring and all that spring symbolizes. Holi is not a religious holiday, although it does have a religious history. It's most commonly celebrated in North India. Hindus celebrate it by building giant bonfires to help get evil spirits out of the air and celebrate with gifts of food. It's a very happy time when Hindus all recognize each other as equal, with no differences between wealth, gender, or age. All right, you win. 11 out of 10. These are some of the coolest holidays I have ever read about, and that's excluding Hindu weddings. Have you seen them? Holy shit. I could resurrect Coco Chanel from the grave to make me a dress to attend a Hindu wedding in, and I would not even come close to upstaging the bride. Hinduism gets a final score of 25 out of 30. It's fitting that the oldest religion gets the highest score. After all, you have to respect your elders. And that's all the religions I'm going to cover for right now. Sorry I didn't get to all the major ones. I wanted to. I had a version of this script plan that also included Buddhism and Islam, but this is my first video and I didn't want it to get too long. These are the final vibe assessments. As you can see, I kept things pretty positive because on the whole, I think religion is a good thing. If there's anything you should take away from this, is that a faith system at its best should bring a sense of comfort and joy and a deeper connection to the planet and our fellow humans. People that weaponize their beliefs or use their religion to hurt others clearly never understood what their religion was even about in the first place. No faith is perfect, but if it brings you peace and you're not hurting anybody, then by all means practice it. It's your life. I hope we can all work towards a world where we can recognize and celebrate the unique and beautiful vibes that each religion brings to the table. If people actually watch this video and want me to make another, then let me know. Not to sound too desperate for your approval or anything, but I would do it. And it feels cringe to say this, but be sure to like and subscribe. Every religion has its beliefs on what is right and wrong, but I think one thing that we can all agree with is that Christmas with the Cranks was a garbage movie.